You'd think a cook would stay exactly where she's expected. But what if the cook isn't what she seems, and what she's really cooking up is the end of a criminal empire? When the words, "Get your filthy hands off my son right now," burst from Robert Whitman's mouth, they sounded like a thunderclap, echoing through every gilded hallway of his mansion. The fragile strains of classical music snapped into silence. Kesha Washington froze, halfway between a step forward and backward, still holding little Tyler's hand. The boy's smile, rare and fragile, vanished. He was 8, autistic, isolated by medication and intimidation. And Kesha, the cook, was the only one who'd coaxed that smile back in months. Robert, impeccably dressed in his outrage, thundered into the room. His suit touted its $3,000 price tag, but his fury was priceless. Around him, 3 high society guests from Manhattan recoiled, their features frozen in disapproval, like they were witnessing a crime. "How dare you touch my son without permission?" he snarled, advancing. Tyler started to rock, the familiar rhythm of his unease. Kesha's heart pounded, but years of restraint gave her control. She moved closer to shield him. "Mr. Whitman," she said, voice steady, though her insides roiled. The music calmed him. He asked to dance. "He asked to dance? You completely forgot your place," Robert spat. "You're only the cook. Not the nanny, not the therapist, and certainly not someone fit to touch my son." The words, full of contempt, hit like acid. A sharp-featured blonde in pearls whispered, loud enough for all, "Maybe you should be more careful about who you hire. Some people feel too comfortable in our homes." Kesha felt humiliation flare across her face, but she held herself upright, poised. For 2 years she'd worn the cook's mask, educated, sophisticated, quietly understanding Tyler in a way no one else did. And now she was being erased. "Kesha is leaving," Robert said, firm as a gavel. "You will not play with him again. I'll hire someone better suited." Tyler, confused, looked between the two of them, fear and despair in his eyes. He'd come to trust Kesha, laugh again, feel seen. Now it was all stripped away. "Gather your things and leave immediately," Robert said. He tossed a few $100s across the marble floor. "Here's your severance." The money scattered at Kesha's feet. She looked at it and at him. For a moment, something in her eyes flickered. Not fear, but resolution. The submissive mask cracked. "Very well," she said. The words were calm, coldly polite, but carried a dark promise. "I'll get my things." As she climbed the stairs to the small room where she'd hidden her few possessions, she gave her first smile since this nightmare started. A slow, knowing curl of her lips, because Robert had no idea exactly whom he'd just fired. He didn't know that under her mattress lay a dossier of his crimes: fraud, money laundering, bribery, and exploitation, or that she'd systematically collected proof for 2 years. And most importantly, he had no clue there was a federal prosecutor waiting for her signal. In the kitchen, she packed her chef's knives, each one precise and deadly in its own way, while laughter filtered through the walls, Robert celebrating with his guests, each more cruel than the last. "Did you see how she reacted? Gave her place a little reminder?" he bragged to a senator's wife, perched in pearls. "These people think they can step up on our level." The woman giggled. Imagine if someone had recorded that scene. A black cook dancing with a disabled child. Tabloid gold. Keisha's fists clenched, but she breathed, because the recording devices she'd installed throughout the home had caught every word. In truth, she was no ordinary cook. Daughter of a renowned Detroit neurosurgeon and civil rights lawyer, Columbia undergrad, and Harvard-trained specialist in child development, she donned the uniform not for pay, but for purpose. 2 years earlier, her father had treated Tyler, identified the foul play in his records. When he reported it, Robert used his influence to ruin the doctor. That smear drove him to a fatal heart attack. Her father was broken, not by illness, but by orchestrated destruction. Now, she'd come to finish what he started. She sent an encrypted message to Michelle Torres, a federal prosecutor and old college classmate. Package ready for delivery. Operation Manhattan initiated. Her cooking partner, Torian, the German-born new house cook, knew nothing. In the living room, Robert and his guests conceded their dirty sins. Margaret Thornfield admitted laundering money through her foundations. Children like firm boundaries, not over-affection from cooks, Robert slurred. Kesha had it all recorded. She went one final time to see Tyler. In his room, he rocked lightly, tiny tears marking his face. When he saw her, his expression lit with longing. "Are you coming back?" he asked, weak, hopeful. "Not like before," she whispered, kneeling beside him. "But something's going to change soon, and you'll have people who love you, for real." He clung to her, and she felt the ache and the purpose swirl together. She descended the stairs, paused at the doorway. Through the glass partition, she saw Robert bragging, "Problem solved." She mused silently. He couldn't be more wrong. She activated the final recorder. Within 48 hours, everything would be unraveling. 2 days later, in a modest Brooklyn apartment she shared with her sister, Kesha spread her evidence across a table. Photographs of fraudulent documents, audio confessions, bribery emails. The meticulous inventory of corruption stretched like a legal blueprint. Michelle, shushing her to focus, leafed through it all. "This is enough to topple not just him, but half of Manhattan's elite." Kesha's voice trembled as she described her father's fate. Not a heart attack, but the result of a malicious campaign. He discovered Robert drugged Tyler to fake worse autism, collect disability benefits. Robert poisoned a child for profit, and Kesha's dad paid the price. Michelle stared, shocked. This is beyond financial crime. It's posthumous justice and medical justice all at once. Back at the mansion, Robert toasted to his triumph. He was closing a deal, doubling his empire. But Sunday would bring no champagne, only a storm. At 6 a.m. Sunday, he slept soundly while Kesha finalized arrangements. She'd discovered further horror. He'd targeted other autistic children, 3 victims, 2 dead. The recordings would implicate murder. Michelle spoke through an encrypted line. "Monday, simultaneous operation. The mansion, your evidence, bank freezes, congressional probe, full cleanup. Tyler will be removed for an independent medical evaluation. If true, he'll lose custody." At the mansion, Robert raised his glass. "Today, I make history." But Sunday was his reckoning. On Monday at dawn, he woke to pounding at his door. FBI agents charged in through security. Sirens, steel, authority. Robert's blood froze. Michelle and agents revealed a search warrant. Frozen bank accounts, including offshore ones, notified at 5 a.m. "Your lawyers?" he stammered. "They've been notified," Michelle answered flatly. Then the door swung open. There stood Kesha, dressed not as a cook, but as what she always was. Beside her, Destiny, a girl Robert didn't recognize, but who carried Kesha's resolute calm. "Dr. Keisha Washington," she said, "and this is my niece Destiny, a child behavioralist." She revealed her true identity, the family's legacy stolen by Robert. And Destiny wasn't just a witness, she'd helped heal Tyler remotely. giving him back the voice Robert had tried to silence. Michelle stepped forward, evidence in hand. Thousands of hours of recordings, photos, emails proving bribery, falsified medical records, disability fraud, weaponization of a child's condition for profit, and murder of innocent children. Robert trembled. "You can't prove it." Kesha pulled out a tablet, showing a video of him planning to maximize disability returns by over-medicating autistic children. "Surprise," she said, vengeful calm in every syllable. Every word, every confession, every plan was recorded. Behind her, Destiny hugged Tyler, triumphant. Margaret Thornfield was escorted out in cuffs, shrieking about rights. Other guests followed. The house of privilege collapsed under truth. "The empire you built on the suffering of children is over," Kesha announced. "This isn't revenge. It's justice." 6 months later, Dr. Kesha Washington strode through Columbia's child development corridors, now a tenured professor. Tyler, free of harmful meds, ran across campus with Destiny at his side, both participants in an inclusion program revolutionizing neurodivergent education. A dean praised Tyler's progress. Keisha smiled, watching him flourish. That boy, once sedated, now composing melodies that university music professors studied as genius. Robert's mistake had been to profit from suffering. Keisha's triumph was nurturing brilliance. In prison, Robert's sorrows over his loss. Other inmates deride him. Autistic kids for money? That's special. He cowers. His world reduced to cold metal and regret. Margaret lost her marriage, her freedom, her veneer. Then came the adoption confirmation. Tyler was legally hers. A restitution fund donated $2 million for specialized education. Not hush money, but healing. Tyler ran to her, calling her Mommy Kesha, asking if he could play piano. Obviously, she answered, "Destiny will play the new song alongside you." They traded their cramped Brooklyn apartment for a home in Queens, paid not with dirty money, but with Kesha's new career, built on genuine transformation. Tyler had a music studio, composing symphonies with the kind of joy that presence and love nourishes. Kesha toasted with Michelle, marveling. He always said Tyler was worthless, just a costly burden. Now he composes music being studied in conservatories. The real punch, the genius he tried to suppress, proved his ignorance. Kesha's closing words during a Harvard lecture reverberated. 3 years ago, I was disguised as a cook in a racist mansion. Today, I am that boy's mother. And he taught me that authentic revenge isn't destroying our enemies. It's building beauty so powerful, their evil becomes irrelevant. Tyler applauded from the front row, composing symphonies at age 9 that seasoned professionals can only dream of. Robert targeted a black autistic child and created 2 forces for change, altering laws, rewriting understanding. The final truth? The greatest vengeance is not meting out suffering. It's building a life, a legacy so full of grace, compassion, and brilliance that the cruelty it countered becomes powerless. If that story moved you, stay, subscribe for more, because sometimes karma just needs a smart, courageous heart to bring it to life.